Side.com.
Hail the Flashlight King.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Heidt in the newsroom, and of course, the Rookie. Here is your Flashlight King, Fireworks Commissioner, and the Keeper of Common Sense, your mayor, Joe Souchere.
Where to begin?
Well, I know where to begin. Ayman Khalif's first fight will do nothing to calm the controversy around the boxer's entrance in the Olympic Games. Khalif is an Algerian. He failed gender eligibility tests at the 2023 World Championships. Well, he's a guy and he's pretending he's a woman. Who failed gender eligibility tests at the 2023 World Championships and forced her Italian opponent, Angela Carini, to withdraw from their opening bout in 46 seconds today. So an Italian biological female who is a female had to get in the ring with an Algerian man who towered over her, and he hit her so violently that the fight was over in 46 seconds.
Knocked her headgear loose, and she started bleeding immediately.
Carini refused a handshake from Khalif and then ripped her hand away from the ref as Khalif was raised as the winner. I'm used to suffering, Carini said, but I've never taken a punch like that. It's impossible to continue. I got into the ring to fight, but I didn't feel like it anymore after the first minute. I started to feel strong pains in my face. I didn't give up, but a punch hurt too much, so I said enough. I'm going to leave with my head held high. The Olympics are an insidious example of the mystery, by which I mean, let's start with the old saw we realized years ago. Mysterians don't like people. And in the Mysterian urgency to bring about a bleaker and more dystopian landscape of their so-called equality and inclusiveness, they have allowed transgender athletes to compete in the Olympics. I think that their wish to bring about what I consider to be a ruined cultural scape across the world, they're willing to even sacrifice death. And I don't think that's hyperbole.
No, you're right.
You put this little Italian gal in there against this beast. She could have easily died. Mm-hmm. And thank God she had the presence of mind to say, the hell with this. You know, it could have been another woman who so desperately wanted to prove her merit that she might have kept going and died. The Olympics are to blame for this. The people to blame for this are Mysterians in their absurd belief that because a big man from, where did I say he was from? Bulgaria?
No.
Algeria. A big man from Algeria who's pretending to be a woman and then pretending to think he can excel in boxing, which he can if he's only fighting women.
Right.
He almost killed a competitor. The Olympics are at fault for this. They believe so much in this absurd nonsense about inclusivity, diversity, inclusion, equity, that they don't see the error of their ways. Part of that is driven by the fact that they don't like people anyway. If there were a hell of a lot fewer people in the world, the Mysterians would be much happier. They don't want to deal with the world GLers know. They don't want to deal with the innate The innate virtues in a human being are competitiveness, individualism, entrepreneurship, being personally responsible for your actions. All of that is wiped out by the mystery. All of that is gone so we can share misery equally. And they're bringing it about with the Olympic ruling that transgender athletes can compete in the Olympics. Why is that fair to a female boxer? Well, the answer, it isn't. But they don't regard fairness the way do. Why is that fair to an Olympics? Has it come up in swimming yet? I don't know. Because of their beliefs, with each passing Olympics, I become less and less interested.
Why even bother to have men and women's separate sports?
Right.
If this is the case, just throw them all into the pool at the same time. It's a complete sham.
And to make matters worse,
Matt, look up, or do we have transgender swimmers in the Olympics?
I thought, didn't we rule because of I just know because Riley Gaines has been very outspoken about it, and she was a swimmer. I thought we ruled that the swimming community was not allowed to have transgender.
The NCAA is allowing transgender
No,
athletes.
I meant, sorry, the Olympic Committee. I thought that.
They're not allowing transgender swimmers?
I guess I don't.
Well, I want facts, and Matt's looking up the
up.
facts.
Can I mention something briefly? I know you don't want me to speak because of my nasal condition, but have you seen the video of her speaking about this after the fact?
Who? The Italian fighter?
Angela Carini.
I have not.
She held up a photo of her late father talking about how this is why she even decided to compete in the Olympic Games.
Is there
It's
a translation so we could hear it?
I could play it, but no, it's what would you call closed caption, Ken, so you wouldn't be able to understand her.
Carini's coach is a guy named Emmanuel Renzini. He told reporters that he was unsure if the boxer's nose was broken and that she had been warned not to take the fight. Many people in Italy tried to call and tell her, "Don't go, please. It's a man. It's dangerous for you," Renzini said. Before the Olympics, the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, who are despicable curs, defended the decision to let Khalif and Taiwan's Lin Yu Ting into the competition after both were disqualified from the World Championships. So the World Championships didn't allow it. The NCAA does, and the Olympics does.
All right, which transgender athletes are not allowed to compete in Paris? There is a BMX rider, Chelsea Wolfe, has been hoping to compete in Paris. They changed its regulations. She qualified for Tokyo as an alternate. Halba Douf's dream was also ended by World Athletics' new regulations, effectively barring the Senegalese-born French sprinter from competing in Paris. And swimmer Leah Thomas became the first transgender athlete to win a U.S. college title in 22, but lost a legal case against World Aquatics for her right to compete. The American remains barred from competing in the female category.
Good. So am I to understand from your reading that there are no transgender swimmers?
Correct. There are no trans women competing at Paris 2024.
Yeah, that's what I thought I read, because World Aquatics banned transgender women who have been through male puberty.
Then how in God's name did they come to the conclusion that a trans boxer should be allowed to compete?
Here, I have the quote from the IOC. Everyone competing in the women's category is complying with the competition eligibility rules, said IOC spokesman Mark Adams. Here's the line. They are women in their passports, and it's stated that this is the case, that they are female.
Stop.
So that's all it takes.
Everybody stop. It happened again. Just
What?
Give me a second.
We're off the air?
Why?
You got to catch it.
Sorry, Ken. I didn't mean to interrupt you. But
Where did it? Just
gonna find
pinpoint
out.
where it
I'm
ended.
going to find out. Why does this keep happening?
I think I know it did because the screen I watch you guys on flashed.
I wonder if it's weather related. Recover selected. Okay.
But they can still hear us in the console. So
Yes.
Be careful.
Okay, hold on. This is where we left off.
Deal with the world GLers? No. They don't want to deal with the innate
Oh,
Jesus.
that was way back there.
6.5 minutes in. God damn it. Why does this keep fucking happening?
Is
They
there anyone
believe
to
so
ask?
They we after that show, we reset
They
everything.
believe so much in this absurd nonsense about inclusivity, diversity, inclusion, equity, that they don't see the error of their ways. Part of that is driven by the fact that they don't like people anyway. If there were a hell of a lot fewer people in the world, the Mysterians would be much happier. They don't want to deal with the world GLers know. They don't want to deal with the innate.
Okay, that's where we ended.
Do I have to do that?
Are we back on?
I'm ready whenever you guys are.
Do I have to
No.
do that transgender research again?
Back him up a little bit to a natural pause. Replay a bunch of that so there's a natural pause.
Part of that is driven by the fact that they don't like people anyway.
Boom, right there.
If there were a
All right.
And then Joe, just continue with that thought.
You ready?
by not liking people, they reject what is just entirely natural to the human condition, but they're trying to beat it out of the human condition.
Well, let's make it clear, Joe. They don't like anybody that doesn't agree with them.
This Khalif fellow, the Algerian, was disqualified at the world titles against a Chinese opponent because it's not a her. I'm not playing that game anymore. It's not a her, it's a guy. After his elevated levels of testosterone failed to meet the eligibility criteria. But boxing officials picked to run Paris qualifying and finals tournaments. They just picked up the rules from Rio de Janeiro 4 years ago and just kept going. The point is that apparently there's no one in this group that has the ability to stop and say, this is wrong. We cannot let this large Algerian fellow fight this much smaller Italian woman. Now, maybe I have something wrong. I have to think they were at least in somewhat the same weight class, weren't they? Do we know that?
Well, they had to be.
Because she's much shorter than this beast. Just like
Right.
Brittany Griner's a guy, and he's much taller than everybody else on the basketball court. I say that allegedly. Yeah, because everybody thinks it's a woman. I guess it's a woman. But the problem is, and I think we're seeing the real dark side of this movement. And the dark side of it is they're apparently, now you got to admit, these people are committed.
Okay.
They are committed. They are committed to bringing about the mystery. They work hard at it. They're so committed, they're willing to risk the death of somebody. I don't see how you could look at it any other way.
I look at it as the athlete playing the long con. It's a con game for the athlete, and I see IOC backing it up, going along with it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Khalif, go bleep yourself. That's what the IOC needs. They need a go bleep yourself guy, but they don't have
I
one.
don't have one.
And it's just a shame. They're willing to risk death. Now, I don't know, as I say, with each passing Olympics, I become less interested knowing what's going on. And what's going on is dreadful. And so I don't really care, but at least the women now are racing against women in the pool. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How much is the international media bringing this to light? Because the only way this is going to stop is if it's widely known the world over. It's the only way it's going to stop. And if the international media is ignoring this and sweeping it under the rug, this is going to continue.
Well, I took my piece from the New York Post. I think there are a few other outlets that it dawned on them that this was news, that this fight ended 46 seconds in because this Algerian male was somehow allowed in the ring. and damn near killed an Italian opponent. Is it on Drudge, I wonder?
I'm reading mine from Yahoo News, and it was interesting reading the Algerian, the country of Algeria, and their reaction. They are scandalized that you would think that anything is wrong here.
Really?
Yeah. The Algerian Olympic Committee issued a statement Wednesday condemning what it termed as lies and unethical targeting and maligning of our esteemed athlete with baseless propaganda from certain foreign media outlets.
Well, they'd have to include me then, because I think the guy's a fraud. And
well, the whole Olympic, all of IOC is a fraud.
I think the Olympics basically are a fraud.
Yeah. I don't see how that's wrong.
We're a long way from. We're a long way from. I might have even covered the last pure Olympics, and maybe even then they weren't. 1980. So that goes back what, 44 years?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they were charming, and they were contained, and they were true amateurs. What else can I say? I had access to the IOC. I went out and had a breakfast with the head of the IOC at this charming hotel overlooking Lake Placid. I can't remember why I had to do that, but it was something anyway. Can you imagine if I was covering the Olympics today? Can you imagine what my access to the head of the IOC would be?
Yeah.
Look up, Rook. Who is the head of the IOC? I want the name and the country.
To answer Kenny's questions, The Guardian, The Independent in Great Britain are all over it.
I'm sure the Daily Mail is.
And here, Variety, of all magazines, Variety, AP News, CNN. It looks like
the New York Times has it, John.
Times. Good
See if the New York Times has it.
I just solved it. I know how we can stop this. We go back to ancient times. The first Olympics, all of the athletes were naked.
Well, you have a very interesting point.
There would be some sports that I would watch and some sports that I really would not want to watch.
You know,
like weightlifting.
Putting the joking aside, somebody needs to check the plumbing and the equipment of these athletes. And if it doesn't match up, you don't go out there. You put your clothes on after the inspection.
His Excellency, Thomas Bach.
Spelled Bach.
B-A-C-H.
Yep.
That you refer to him as His Excellency?
Well, where's he from? Why is he an excellency?
I see he is from. Let me click on.
I hate to make it work today, by the way.
This is the second time I had to look something up, too, by the way. He was born in Würzburg, Bavaria.
Oh, he's
West
a Bavarian.
Germany.
He's a Sherman.
Yeah, University of Würzburg. He's a lawyer.
Of course he is.
His sports career was fencing club, Taubersch. I don't know what that. It's a
whatever. He's the head of the IOC.
Yes,
the New York Times, Joe, does have it in there. They have an Olympic roundup section.
Yeah.
Italian boxer quits bout, sparking furor over gender at Olympics with a fairly long story.
All right. Well, it makes me wish that the only Olympics that existed were the Lard Lake Olympics up in Crow Wing County. I got a note from Bill Stein, who is a correspondent for the Lard Lake Olympics. Do you know what some of the sports are?
Let me guess. Is one of them carp tossing?
Mixed doubles synchronized pickleball.
Okay.
Rhythmic cornhole. But my favorite, full contact quilting.
Yes. Full contact.
Grandma's throwing elbows.
Full contact quilting. It's a ladies' event with exceptions made, well, for anyone whose pronouns are things like feed dog or walking foot. The perennial rivals for gold are the Happy Needlers and the Crazy Quilters, spelled with a K, of course.
Wow.
See that those aren't going to result in death, are they? Stock tank races. That sport was imported from Nebraska.
Yeah.
The competitors float down the current of a small river in galvanized stock tanks.
You haven't seen that before?
That would be fun.
It's
That would be
legit.
fun.
But the only thing with that is you're not in the water, so that thing heats up pretty quick, and you're toast.
Blasphemy is an artistic effect because blasphemy depends upon a philosophical conviction. Blasphemy depends upon belief and is fading with it. If anyone doubts this, let him sit down seriously and try to think blasphemous thoughts about Thor. I think his family will find him at the end of the day in a state of some exhaustion. G.K. Chesterton in The Heretics. We'll have more later, of course. Only 2 more years until the Lard Lake Winter Games. But I think one of the greatest sports I've ever heard of is full contact quilting.